Pharoah Sanders' Floating Points and the London Symphony Orchestra promises. Album review, let's chat about it. Hey guys, John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this collaborative album from London-based electronic producer Floating Points, aka Sam Shepard, as well as jazz legend Pharoah Sanders and the freaking London Symphony Orchestra. I mean, Pharoah Sanders is an absolute legend in the jazz world, and the London Symphony Orchestra is, you know, it's the London freaking Symphony Orchestra. And a couple of months ago, they revealed they were going to be coming together alongside Floating Points on this new album. And over the last few years, Floating Points has become sort of a modern favorite of mine in electronic music. I thought his albums like the Alania and the Mojave Desert project that he did as well have been really freaking cool. I mean, he has this real knack for bringing together modern electronic sounds as well as some sort of cosmic jazz to it as well. And leading up to this album, I thought this could be a real happening in modern classical and jazz. And here we are. The album is upon us now, and it is awesome. It is split up between 9 different movements. And movement 1, I really love this right as an intro. It is mysterious, it's very whimsical. Spoiler alert, most of this album is. But overall, it does this great job of bringing in what we can expect from the rest of this album. It's not overly flashy, and it is very minimal. Once again, a lot of this album is, if you don't like your jazz and classical that way, this might not be the album for you. But I just love how each one of their contributions is sort of introduced in their own little way here. And Pharoah's playing in the middle of it all. I mean, the guy sounds otherworldly. He sounds like a jazz phenom throughout this entire project. Like I said, going into this album, I didn't know what to expect, but let me tell you, this is the happening that I really was hoping it would be. With Movement 2, I feel like the mysteries of this album just keep getting unboxed with each passing second. Every time I find myself asking what could possibly happen next, Pharoah, Floating Points, and the London Symphony Orchestra just seem to pop out and give me something that I haven't heard before. It's usually pretty spacey, cosmic, and full of emotion, too. This is one of the smaller packages here. It's one of the shortest tracks here by far, but it is so fruitful and eventful and necessary for the rest of this album. Like, the rewards here are mind-blowing. Movement 4 doesn't even sound like it's from this plane of existence. The very odd vocals that we get here, was not expecting that. But I just can't help but be absolutely blown away when Pharoah Sanders pops in here. He's just so full of love and life. What a triumph. And Movement 5 continues to move along with what has made this album so good. It's airy, it's cosmic, and it just, to me, doesn't sound like anything else happening right now. And you know what? I feel like I don't speak enough about Floating Point's contributions to this, but he gives this album and this track just this unbelievably cool atmosphere to it. Obviously, without his very chilly, icy, but still incredibly cosmic and otherworldly atmospheres, this would still be an awesome jazz and classical album, but still, this just brings it all together and wraps it up in a package real nice. And Pharoah's playing here, like, I have no words. He's unbelievable. I mean, if I had to choose one movement here that I feel like could have been left out, I would say it's 3. And listen, it's far from bad. Even in the few re-listens that I've given this track, I've found little details about it that I do like. The cosmic synths, for one, are actually a really nice touch. But this is the one track here that I feel like it needed more depth to it. But overall, Pharoah Sanders' Floating Points and the London Symphony Orchestra should all be so proud of what they have here. Movement 6, I think, is the best track here. I mean, this album has so many soaring highs of love and life and passion. Then we have this track, which is much grittier and bluesier and more somber. And Pharoah's playing here is unbelievable, but I think it's the orchestra that really knock it out of the park here. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is still a group effort, and around, it just seems to be the total package. But the way this track progresses, grows, and comes alive is something pretty unbelievable. And the sheer emotion to this, and the way this track evolves as it rolls on, I can't say no. Movement 7 is just as unreal. And I will say this is a very minimal, very small sounding album at times. It's not an easy listen. You really have to plug in and really pay attention at times. And with that being said, I feel like there's some that this might be a little bit too one-dimensional for them. The way this track progresses, the way this album progresses and just evolves very slowly, never anything too obvious, I find enchanting, and it keeps reeling me in and surprising me over and over again. I love how desolate and cosmic this sounds. This, in a weird way, does remind me of Floating Points' Mojave Desert project, just much more beefed up, and with the damn London Symphony Orchestra and Pharoah Sanders backing him up. But let me tell you, it all has its own distinct personality, and it just is such a show. I mean, we get drama here, we get mystery, and then the final 2 minutes, which is the Pharoah Sanders show, it makes me have to sit down and really process what I heard. Movement 8, once again, this album you really need to sit with, but it is very rewarding. There is such a serene beauty to this track that's so obvious, but I can't help but eat it up. And I love how wonderfully this track just sort of wraps up a lot of the themes on the album. I thought that this would have been the perfect finale, to be honest. But Movement 9 is absolutely gorgeous. It's such a great finale. Just this short, one last raw blast of emotion, and that's just what I needed right now. This album rocks, man. This album is so cool. Like I said, going into this, I thought it was going to be happening. You got Legend here alongside of a dude that I really have been loving what he's been doing the last few years. We have Pharoah Sanders. We have the London Symphony Orchestra. We have Floating Points. They all complement each other so well here. The emotion on this album, the playing on this album, it is all awesome. I will say this. It is sort of minimal at times. It certainly is, and it's not an easy listen. If you're new to jazz, I don't think this is the place to start at all. And you know what? This isn't going to be an album for everybody. But this is one of my favorite things in music that I've heard in quite some time. Yeah, awesome album. I'm feeling a very strong 8 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.